Hi guys, this is Carrie. You're watching A Crone's Life. It is Sunday and I'm changing out my decks, so I thought I would try something different and tell you a little bit about last week and how my decks worked for me. Okay. I have been keeping my journal up to date with how I feel about the readings in my day or through my week. And I've been struggling trying to figure out how to rank maybe the setup, maybe the way they work together, but I still get a very good feel for the decks, like individual decks, even if I work with them all together. Okay, but I've been trying to figure out a way to give them a maybe star rating or something to more distinctly categorize my decks and figure out what I think they work best, how they work best for me, and their personalities, maybe how we interact together. So I wanted to start with Queen Mab. This is one of my newer decks to me. It's been around for a long time, but I more recently got it. I think I tried to mention it before. So I went to this little metaphysical shop and picked up this deck, not really knowing anything about it except that I saw it on someone else's channel. I was just enamored with how the guidebook sounded. The imagery is charming. It's a very fairy deck, so there's not a huge diversity of body types or age range in here, but the artwork is beautiful. It's very fairy and fantasy, so it lets you slip into the realm in your mind pretty easily. I really enjoyed the guidebook. It's exactly why I thought I wanted the deck, and I don't really feel like I would use this deck by itself. It's beautiful, and like I said, I do love the guidebook, but I think that it's the kind of deck that you only pull one card. I wouldn't do a spread. Personally, I wouldn't do a spread. During the week, this was in the position of my spread of what spiritual energy is surrounding me today. Usually that position is, the prompt would be, what energy am I putting out into the world that day? So this deck changed that prompt, and it gave me new ideas for how to work with a deck and how to work with the spiritual energy around us. So in the cards, they have the key phrase and a number so that you can look it up in the guidebook. And in the guidebook, it's just, I just encourage you to read it for yourself. It's beautiful. Gives you a lot of ideas on how to draw information from the card, what to look for in the imagery that can speak to you. But I mostly went off of the title of the card and the phrase that they gave you. So we had a day where I drew a card about sea maids music and the sea maids music, and it just spoke to me, healed through creativity, to play music for the spirits around me. And so I just went on Spotify and I typed the sea maids music into the search bar, and I let Spotify decide what music that it felt like the energy was lifted and it was very light in the house. We had a great day with that. I think I would use this deck more in that way more frequently, because that felt really good. That was a great deck. Loved the deck. I love how it gave me new ideas on how to the prompts change and how to work with my daily readings. So Queen Mab, very good. So my day energy was the Magick of You Oracle. Once again, this is very fantasy and beautiful, not too diverse, but there's also not a whole lot of real people anyway. This deck, but the cool thing is it worked really well with the other decks during this week. I didn't expect it to. In fact, I was kind of not looking forward to putting it in the spread because I was worried that it would be an outlier with the reading, but it did not. It did not go against the grain. It really did great. Cohesive, spoke in the whole of the reading instead of just being by itself. I'm trying to remember. This is one of the cards that I got. Make peace with your past. I'll never get rid of this deck. As far as I know, I love it. I do wish there were more cards. I'm kind of greedy. You guys would know that if you know me. I like to have big, chunky decks, but this is wonderful. I don't really have any complaints about it. So, sorry, my throat. In this guidebook, they give you a reading or a description of your cards. So liberation, free yourself, and they tell you about the card, what you're looking at, and then give you some advice, what it might be speaking to in your life. And then down here in these little boxes, they have a ritual or sometimes it's a journal prompt that you can do to, in effect, bring the energy of the card into your day. And I like this a lot. I've never used it in the past, so I decided to take a day and do one of their rituals. It was lovely. I'm surprised at myself, but also surprised at the deck. I've never felt the need to do the rituals before, but with all the little bitty changes going on in my spread, I decided to go ahead and try one. And the whole time I've had this deck, years I've had this deck, I've never done that. And all of a sudden I felt a little called, like, just a little whisper, give it a try. It surprised me that it took this long for me to want to do that. So I was very happy, and I don't know, it gave it a new life for me to try something new with it. Okay. So the artist Decoded. I pre-ordered this when I saw it on Amazon. It just looked like something I wanted. I had no idea about the author of the guidebook. Evidently she is prolific and she has written other things that are educational. She's very knowledgeable. These are the backs. This is made with generative AI. I don't believe there's any doubt. I mean, this looks very generative AI. This deck, I want to keep it out. I'm feeling like I want to continue to use it. It's a thick deck. The cards are a little thick. I'm considering cutting off just a fraction of, just to this line right here of the cards, because it's kind of hard to hold. I can't get my hands all the way around it. I think just a smidgen of the card coming off would help me to hold it, and it would be a more comfortable shuffle. But that's beside the point. Sorry, interruption. Yeah, so I was not familiar with the author of the guidebook, and I watched a review of this on Mixtrix Ray, her channel, and she is unhappy with the discrepancy between the description, not the description, of the guidebook information and what is depicted on the card. In the guidebook, she does speak about the Hebrew letters that correspond to the cards. She'll discuss the air, earth, water, fire element, and, you know, if there's two or whatever. She discusses that. Even though the imagery is not on the card, it's in the guidebook. For me personally, that does not bother me. I feel like there's going to be a point where I will know that knights are, I don't remember, but like, let's just say knights are fire, and then pentacles are earth, so that would be earth of fire. But there's going to be a time where I hopefully will know that about every card, and so it's not as important to me to have it depicted on the card. That's an extra bit of information that helps, but I don't think it has to be that way for every card. I don't think it has to scream that on every card. So for instance, we have the Two of Swords, and she says the Two of Swords is the paradox of choice. Well, for me, Two of Swords has always been decision. Like, you're stuck trying to choose between a couple of different things, and it's usually black and white. In my mind, that's how I'm looking at the card. That's how I'm thinking of how to apply that in my life. She says the paradox of choice, and she gives the resonant Sephira is Chakma or Chakma, and he encourages using logic, reason, discipline, and focus. And so she's making this card very much about swords, because this is of your mind, and you shouldn't let your emotions get in the way of making a sound, reasonable decision. She also talks about, well, she doesn't talk about, but she gives the upright keywords and the reverse keywords, and then she gives you an activity, kind of like the other Magick of You guidebook. She gives you an activity to try and bring this card into reality for yourself, and how you can use this in journaling. Sometimes it's a journal entry, sometimes it's a creative activity, sometimes it's just reading certain excerpts from books. And I find this deck to be just a lovely deck. And for me, the colors are beautiful. The imagery is perfect. There's no faces. I love that. I don't know what to say. I really want to keep it out longer. I don't think I will. At the end of this next week, we're leaving for Vermont, and I don't want to have too many decks with me. I think I have to take, for myself, I'm taking way too many already, so I don't really want to keep this out in that respect. I've got a lot going on, but I have a desire to continue to work with it. This might be one of those decks that I have on my desk so that I can look at it when I want to. I can read the guidebook when I want to. But it also makes me want to read M.M. Maline's Tarot Deciphered. I've gotten 143 pages into this book, and it's so chock full of information, and I'm amazed and enchanted by the study of symbols, so symbology. I just want to know everything when it comes to these books. So what I might do is keep these two together and do a little study on the side. Sorry, I'm jiggling you. Study on the side using M.M. Maline's. I have 2 of her decks, and then I've got this one, and I think that would be a fun little exercise for me to play with this. So those are my thoughts with this particular deck. And I don't think I told you that that card in my spread for that deck was where am I on my path, and what do I need to know to make the right decisions according to my path. So the last deck from last week is the Lonely Dreamer. This was a Kickstarter that I did last year that I took part in. It was one of the first decks to come to me from Kickstarter, and its quality is gorgeous. I love the cardstock, just about everything about this. It is slippery, slidey, which it can be unruly, but I've been using jumpers lately, so that works for me. The guidebook is written by Esther Tishman. She is our Mindful Tarot tuber. I was trying to do the Drop 'em 78 this year. I failed miserably because I got sick. I think it was day 9, and I just said, I don't have the energy. I can't continue. But she wrote the guidebook using her Drop 'em 78 technique. So it was so easy for me to follow because I did 9 days. I knew exactly how she was working these, how her language played in this book. So D1 is definition, D2 is detail, and usually D3 is day, and how it, how the card speaks to your specific day. And in the guidebook, she uses discovery. So she has a clarifying card with discovery where she'll compare that particular card with a card from another deck. And her clarifying card gives extra information, extra insight in her description. And it's been wild. Like, I've never seen a guidebook written this way, of course. You know, I've never read any of Esther's other work. So this was really cool. She also references the Tree of Life, the Kabbalah, and the Sephirots, the Hebrew letters sometimes, and that has been so enlightening. I adore bringing in more symbolism into the cards. So also, if anybody's thinking about getting this setup, this kit, the deck and the guidebook, know that your major arcana are in the back, and she works from pentacles in the front through the minors. And it will be, she will have the kings, queen, she'll have the court cards in the minors, so they don't have a separate section like they do in some guidebooks. But yeah, this was great. This had been calling to me for weeks before I was able to work with it, and I'm glad that I finally got around to it. Again, the jumpers were perfect. As you can see, jumpers went all directions, but I am working towards doing reversals, so it works for me. to not worry about which direction things are pointing, obviously. But this is the 3rd edition. This is the last edition. Melissa has said that she will not do another Raiden deck, and that's cool. That's really cool. I'm glad I got this one. I also have the 2nd edition, but it does not have a guidebook. I don't really use it much because I love a good guidebook. Sometimes I rely on them, sometimes I just use them for extra, but it depends on my mood, it depends on what I feel like I need. So, so this one is my go-to as far as the Lonely Dreamer. I don't think I want the 1st edition, so I won't be collecting this series. Yeah, we have some extra cards from the Kickstarter. We were able to get up over certain stretch goals, so we got extra cards. That was really nice. I keep them all blended in because it works. So this is the last deck in my spread, and basically this was my 3-card spread. And I do a different 3-card spread every day because I feel like every day kind of deserves a different 3-card spread. And again, this is a really great deck. I think I could use it all the time, but I like to spread out the usage of my decks. So I like to give them all at least a little love through the year, through the month, and hard to do when you have a lot of decks. So that's this one, The Lonely Dreamer. It's a great read. Again, the guidebook is wonderful. I think with this week, and I'm going to pull some of these back in, my big takeaway with this week and how I felt about my readings. There are some weeks, and maybe you guys will understand this, there are some weeks where I feel like everything I do is just not good enough. I don't know if it's me or the people around me or just the circumstances of my situation, but I just feel like I'm always working to be better. Big mood. And I've had setups, and I don't blame the decks per se, but I've had setups where they don't necessarily comfort me during those times. This one truly embraced me and said, you are enough, you are good enough, everything you do is enough, and you are where you are because of the things that you've gone through, and don't hate these experiences in your life. Don't hate the decisions that you've made in the past, because they have put you right here and they've made you who you are. So this, for all the words that I'm using, this setup really made me feel whole through the week. And that's a major thing. That is a wonderful thing. And I think it's the guidebooks. I want to just say the cards and the decks bring beauty and joy to me, but the guidebooks, the words that these authors have used to be kind to the reader, it's priceless. It's wonderful, and I needed it. So this week has been great. Again, some of these decks I'd just love to keep them out, but as a critique or as a summary of my week, this setup made me feel enough, and that was great. So I hope you guys get the same energy from your decks, from your spreads this next month, because Thanksgiving and family time and people coming together, it can be really stressful. And I know family energy isn't always 100% positive. So lots of love to you guys. Stay safe and have a great, great month. Bye.